Hello and welcome. I'm Tony Spearman Leach, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Montgomery Week in Review. Joining us today is the State Attorney's Office, which has established a program to prevent truancy and the population of young people throughout Montgomery County. Here joining us today is Rexanah Wyse, the coordinator of the program, who will explain its importance and its relevance to you. Also joining us is the Mental Health Association, which is sponsoring the Friendly Visitor Program that benefits the homebound persons throughout our communities. Tammy Schmidt is the director of this long-standing service and will tell us about how to reach persons whom are seldom seen by us and yet are still at risk. Also, we have Serving Together, an initiative to reach veterans and their families in Montgomery County. It provides information and aid and has been an important part of the Mental Health Association's mission to reach out to people in our county. Jessica Fuchs is the director, and she will share with us many details. Also, we want to share with you the Green Road Project. It began at Walter Reed Hospital in Bethesda and has expanded to other places throughout Maryland. It aids active duty members and veterans in our communities. Today, Dr. Frederick Foote, who has developed the project, will describe its progress and a lot of very new happenings. So, let's go ahead and get started and join in with Rexanah. Tell me, what is this truancy prevention program that you have here at the State Attorney's Office?
The truancy program, it's an incentive and voluntary-based program. It meets for 10 weeks in the fall and in the spring. And what we do is partner with the Montgomery County Public Schools as well as school resource officers to figure out the root causes of the students' chronic absenteeism. The student and the families are involved as well. And so each week, once a week, we have discussions with the students and the parents to figure out what's going on. And if the students are able to reduce their unexcused absences, they get rewarded for their efforts.
So now let me ask you, this is Montgomery County.
Yes.
Is truancy really a big problem?
Truancy is a big problem. Over 2,000 students are considered habitually truant for middle schools, and in high schools, it's triple that amount, over 6,000 students. And so the big deal with truancy is that if students aren't in school, they're getting involved in negative behavior, whether it's committing crimes, getting involved with drugs or alcohol.
Raiding 7-Eleven?
Or raiding the
7-Eleven?
Things like of that nature, or dropping out of high school. And so we want students in school and not in the court systems, and that's why we have this early intervention program in place.
Now, is this a pilot program in Montgomery County, or was this taken from other communities elsewhere to use in Montgomery County?
This program was actually taken from the University of Baltimore School of Law. They had the truancy court program. The state's attorney reached out to UB to figure out, okay, how can we bring this to Montgomery County? And now it's been in place for over 5 years. It's been very successful.
Now, we do want people to know that they can reach out to you and they can contact you on telephone number. And so we're going to provide that. Okay. But you said something important, incentivize. How do you incentivize a child who's being truant?
So the students that are involved in the truancy program, if they are able to reduce their unexcused absences, we provide them books, we provide them granola bars, things that are school supplies, so it's all school oriented.
Is it possible to donate incentive?
Yes.
Maybe gift cards or something?
Gift cards, anything that's related to this child's well-being when it comes to school, we are willing to take donations.
Rexanah, what are some of those reasons for chronic truancy in these children?
So it's various reasons. It can be school bullying. It could be simple as not having an alarm clock, and we do provide alarm clocks. It could be not having breakfast, cultural language barriers, or just doing poorly in school and so wanting to avoid going
How
to
about
school.
if somebody is truant because of bullying? What do you do about that?
And so that's why we partner up with Montgomery County Public Schools. We have the pupil personnel workers, the school counselors to figure out what type of programs or services the students can be in touch with.
But go ahead.
Sorry. What if the problem is at root from the parents?
And so we provide an opportunity for the parents to come into the panel session and discuss what's going on in the home and see what type of services or programs can be provided to the parents so that the student can attend school regularly.
But do you have a success story to tell? I mean, one of the things that we really get concerned about is everyone addresses truancy. But what is the impact? Where is your success? Prove to us that you have done something.
Okay. Well, first I will say the University of Baltimore conducted a study, and close to 70% of the students that were involved in the program They went off to continue to reduce their unexcused absences so their attendance improved a semester or a year after they completed the program. One quick story. A brother and a sister. The brother was being constantly bullied, and the sister, she had academic issues prior to the start of the truancy program. While they were in the truancy program, we were having discussions with them. We were making sure they were held accountable for their actions and just trying to figure out what can we do to help them. After the end of the program, they turned around. They were able to be on the honor roll. They were able to just do very well, and the parents were very happy because of that.
And do you have a dropout rate that happens in the program? What happens to people that are able to complete the entirety of the program itself?
So if students aren't able to successfully complete the program during the fall semester, they get invited again to participate in the program in the spring.
Okay, that's very, very good. And let me ask you, can I, if the school hasn't identified me, can I reach out to you? Again, can I call your telephone number and say, you know, we're having truancy problems, or I need some help? Can I reach out to you?
You can reach out to the state's attorney's office or to the child's individual school.
And let me ask you, if you were to say where you see this program going, what is your goal for the program? What is the department's goal for the program?
We hope to expand to all middle schools in Montgomery County that have significant truancy issues. Until right now, we're going to expand to 15 schools thanks to the county council as well as the county executive.
Is it voluntary, or can children be required to go?
It's a voluntary program.
So some of those hardcore truancy children would just refuse to go.
Well, so the parents have to sign a permission slip, but if the student or the parent isn't comfortable with having that child in the program, then we can't force them.
Well, you know, this is really great to know that we have this service available to our kids. And so I want everyone to know to please feel free to reach out to the telephone number. Let's make a difference in this county. You're an important resource. And we're going to move over to another very, very important resource over here with Tammy. Tammy, you are like the gold mine over there at the Mental Health Association, and you have this, you know, Friendly Visitors program. You reach out and you make a difference in people's lives. Tell us about the impact of what this program does.
Well, first of all, what we do is we look for people who are truly isolated. Our goal is to find people who are perhaps aging in place in a home that they've been in for decades and decades and decades, to take a bit of a look at the house and make sure that maybe furniture is moved out of the way, carpets are stable, things like that. But really our goal is to bring in somebody who will just provide companionship, socialization. Every study that you can find under the sun will say that contact, that human contact, will prevent depression and prevent aging decline. So we bring in volunteers who are screened, trained, people in the county, wonderful people, who will visit once a week for about an hour, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less if the client can't tolerate that much. And just to check in, something for the client to look forward to, somebody to share interests with. I try very hard to find some kind of connection that the two people will make, maybe an interest or employment history.
But I'm an old codger. I don't want people in my house. I don't think I'm alone.
Well,
you're telling me I have to have
sometimes
somebody come over?
we don't require this. We don't force it upon anybody.
Okay.
But for those people who perhaps were referred, let's say, by Adult Protective Services or by a family member or by a neighbor, we'll try to work our way in quietly. I try to understand that, be very understanding of the intrusion into somebody's home, and do it very quietly and peacefully.
And I can call the phone number and reach out to you or someone in your program?
Absolutely. You can call me.
Okay.
My number should be on the screen, 301-424-0656. Ask for the Friendly Visitor Program. We take referrals for people. Anybody can make a referral. It's very, very, very difficult to find people who are so isolated, just by definition. So maybe an adult child living out of the area, or a neighbor that just checks in on their neighbor. We're a good tag-on service. We don't do full service like transportation or shopping. We really just do the socialization piece. So we're always looking for referrals, finding people.
So are you like an eHarmony? You know, trying to find like the best volunteer for the best client, and how do you make
I
that match?
absolutely think of myself that way. It's except without all the fancy
No
gimmicks.
dating.
You heard it here.
We don't do
eHarmony.
gimmicks. But I'll tell you, I do look at interests and history and whatever it is that people tell me is important to them, because we do ask what they're looking for. But so much of this is just gut. When I came into this program, I thought that I would be able to just look at paper and match the two. It doesn't work like that. I truly just get sort of, when I'm sitting and talking to a client, just people will pop into my head. And sometimes it's not the newest volunteer that's looking for a new match. Sometimes it's an existing volunteer. For example, I met with a woman who, when I went to her house, it was sort of like a Hansel and Gretel gingerbread house. It was incredibly well done, very ornate. Inside it was all sort of Victorian with lace and pillows and really beautiful. And but it was definitely a taste. It was an acquired taste. And as I talked to the woman, I realized that I had a volunteer who was very into decorating, very into material arts, fabric arts. Called her up, and the match is going beautifully.
Tammy, how do you find the clients that are in need when so many are kind of lost or isolated in the community?
It's really hard, but we try to get the word out there. I just a couple of weeks ago did a presentation to professionals who work in aging in the county. We put out flyers to all of Aging and Disability every now and then, the caseworkers there, and we try to advertise in print media, and it's very hard to get the word out there.
And what type of activities do the volunteers typically get involved with these seniors?
It's really individualized to the needs of the senior. So ideally people just sit and talk, but sometimes that's problematic for people. So we have volunteers doing all kinds of creative activities with their clients. For example, one volunteer who's helping her client do a genealogy. We have a couple of volunteers actually who are helping with those large boxes of pictures that we used to all have. Now they're digital, but if you think about people of that generation, they just have boxes of print photos. They're helping them put them in albums. We have one match, a gentleman who's a veteran of World War II who watches films about World War II with his volunteer who's interested in that time period. So really it's just about anything. It could even be just watching television together, but just being together.
I just think it's really important for us all to remember that when we know we have a neighbor who we know they live there, they're elderly, we don't see them come out of their home, we don't see them come out of their apartment, that there is a person in a department that we can turn to over at the Mental Health Association for you to check out what's going on, because you provide an invaluable service to this community. So I want to thank you so much, and just remind everyone to reach out to our two guests that have just presented, and we will have more to discuss after these messages. And we're back, and thank you for joining us. Right now we have a wonderful guest, an actually very comical guest to join us. We have Jessica Fuchs, who is with Serving Together, which is an outstanding program that serves our veterans and helps them and helps their family by helping them.
Absolutely.
Tell us a lot about this program. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very necessary, and I think that people don't understand exactly how necessary it is. Our main goal is to make sure that the veterans in our community here in Montgomery County and their families get connected to resources that they have earned, whether or not that be benefits that they have questions about, financial support, employment services, housing services. We get questions across the board. We want to make sure that veterans in our community, and we have about 50,000 of them here in Montgomery County.
That's amazing.
People don't get that. The majority of them are Vietnam era veterans, and so different eras have different needs. But a lot of people just don't understand that there are veterans here in Montgomery County, and there are services that they could be eligible for that they're just not accessing.
Now I've got to ask you, are you another one of those programs that I'm going to dial in on the phone and I'm going to get pound, go to number 2, press star and go to number 10, and I get this phone tree and no one ever talks to me?
I know we're all big fans of 1-800 numbers, and we all have so much time to waste. But the truth of the matter is, our goal is to be that warm handoff, that connector to services. When you call us with, I think they have our number available on the screen, or you go to our website, which is servingtogetherproject.org. We want to connect you with those resources. So you can call us Monday through Friday, 9 to 4:30, and actually get a human being.
A real person.
Real person.
You're promising me.
No, I swear, yeah, a real
Okay.
person. And so we want to make sure that that person really kind of guides the person who calls us, so a veteran or a family member who's calling in relationship to the veteran, whether or not whatever they're calling for, that we can get them connected to the service that they're looking for, and we can provide that warm transfer. So knowing who is on the other end of that line and being able to say, you know, call Susan at extension 257, she can do X, Y, and Z. But sometimes you can't avoid the 1-800 numbers. You know, veterans do need to call the VA. They do need to call about their benefits. They do need to call Buffalo for their GI Bill. But we try to give them information about maybe what to expect when they have to call that, you know, when they have to call those phone numbers.
What other services does your organization provide or connect to the veterans?
We do a lot of education, and I always like to say it's really a two-way street here in the community. So we want to educate the veteran on services that they may be eligible for, ways that they can access. I think it surprises a lot of people. Not all veterans go to the Department of Veterans Affairs for services. Some of them aren't eligible for services. So people don't understand that. So we want to educate the veteran about who they can talk to about benefits, where they can go in Montgomery County, nonprofit, faith-based, county government services that they might be eligible for. And then we need to educate community members as well about how they can serve. Knowing if you're, you know, Tammy talked a lot about knowing your neighbor. You know, knowing if your neighbor is in the National Guard, in the reserves, if they have served our country.
They're eligible?
They would be the
National Guard
the
and
National
Reserve,
Guard
they
and
can
Reserve,
call you?
absolutely.
Wow.
And they run into a lot of it. That never before in our country has the reserve capacity been utilized as much as it has been since the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Jessica,
it's an all-volunteer force.
Wanted to ask Jessica, do you do any referrals to community arts programs for veterans?
Absolutely. Last year we partnered with the Glen Echo Partnership, and we did a resource fair, and we brought in some art-related therapies, you know, to come in and kind of show how people can use art to benefit. I know that there's the Veterans Writing Project. I know that the National Intrepid Center for Excellence, they do a lot of really great work, a lot of alternative therapies for veterans. So we are trying to become more aware of those programs that are out there, to see how else that people can utilize those services. I think they've become a really great modality for those dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, or those just dealing with general anxieties in any way.
That's what I do, so we'll have to talk.
Absolutely, right? That's what these things are all about.
Jessica, I know that the military culture is rather specific. Does your staff understand the military culture?
I like to think so. You know, everybody is different. Everybody has their own issues. We have 4 full-time staff members. 2 of them are veterans, and 2 of us are military spouses. I am myself a military spouse. So although we can't understand everybody's circumstances, it's nice to know that when you're talking with somebody on the phone, that at least there's this baseline understanding that you may have been through some of those things, or may have experienced it. We've all waited on the 1-800 numbers, so I can certainly commiserate with the veterans who call us and talk about, I don't want to wait on the phone. So, you know, at the end of the day, the most important thing for my program is to get out into the community and know that each one of you guys now, you know somebody who has served. That could be your grandparent, it could be a parent, it could be a niece or nephew, son or daughter. People know people who have served. Although it's just 1% of the population who has experienced what they say, you know, in Iraq and Afghanistan, that 1% I think is kind of a small representation, because we all know somebody. Just because your immediate family member didn't serve. So, you know, if your grandfather served and he has questions about benefits, Serving Together is a resource for you. If you have a nephew who's going through some issues, needs some employment, we can be a resource. So.
And Jessica, you know, I think there's nothing more important than helping those people that have protected us and made our freedoms possible. You know, this is just phenomenal, and as we keep on with this theme, we're going to move over to the phenomenal Dr. Frederick Foote, who is going to tell us about this program that you have just done astounding work with. You do the Green Road, and I think so many people don't know that you started this out of Walter Reed. Tell us more about what you have been doing and kind of how you got there.
Okay, Tony, I'm a retired Navy doc. I should say I do not speak for the government. I'm not a federal employee, but I do holistic medicine for veterans at Walter Reed and elsewhere, especially programs using art and nature for healing. See, we have a problem. Many of our troops have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's very hard to treat. And we have a terrible suicide problem. 22 veterans a day in this country kill themselves. Research and our work at Walter Reed has showed that two of the strongest healing measures for PTSD are making art and music and being in nature. We got big programs at both places, the Green Road Project, the nation's largest healing garden, and the Walter Reed Arts Program for healing through art and nature, and we're taking both those out to the community.
Well, let me ask you, so I know veterans who are here, you know, obviously we have a lot of active duty here in Montgomery County. We have a lot of reservists here in Montgomery County. How do I find out about getting engaged with your program? How do I get the services?
There's one-stop shopping in the website on the screen, medicagainstbomb.com. It tells you how to contact me and all the other programs of art and nature for veterans that I'm doing. The new one that's kind of sexy, we've been, you know, the warriors at Walter Reed are getting better from being treated with art and nature. It's dramatic to see. But in the communities, they don't have this everywhere.
Absolutely.
So what we've done, I go out and I encourage the formation of local art and music lessons for local veterans and local garden projects, veterans garden in your town, something like that. It's all about the community taking care of its own, because you don't have to be a doctor to give art to your veterans or gardens to your veterans. You can do it yourself. And a lot of vets who were not getting any help or services are coming out of the woodwork with these programs. We've tied them together recently with the Maryland Network of Arts and Gardens for Veterans, and we are hiring a state coordinator. And please get in touch with me if you are an arts program administrator that would like to administer a statewide network to support local veterans through art and nature. We are intending to do no less than decrease veteran suicides in Maryland.
And I think it's really great. I've heard a lot about the benefits of art, and I think sometimes veterans don't understand, one, you don't have to be diagnosed with PTSD or TBI to be able to benefit from these programs. And then sometimes I think veterans think of art, they may just think of painting, but it can be music, it can be writing. I know there's a lot of veterans doing writing, and so people can explore all these different options to really benefit them, and how it also reflects into their family life and how it benefits their family. Just being able to express themselves in ways outside of just talking to somebody.
You got it. And the efforts are astounding. People don't know how well it works for PTSD and other states of suffering. But at a gut level, we all know that art and nature are healing, right? Here's a little story for you. We got a $1 million grant from the TKF Foundation to build our Green Road Garden.
Wow.
Thank you. And there's 5 other projects in the same program that get big grants to do healing gardens. Well, I just heard from the one out in Portland, and they are building a hospital garden right next to labor and delivery in that hospital. And the idea is to compare the labor outcome of a woman who does her labor in the garden compared to one in a regular hospital room. But guess what? They ran into a problem. They can't find any women who are willing to labor in the room. They all want to be in the garden. They can't get a control group. So you see, at a gut level, we all know that this works, and we're going to develop, we have developed research programs that are going to prove that it works within 3 years at Walter Reed and in the community.
Now let me ask you, we have just, you know, spoken over here with Tammy, who she matches volunteers, she's managing. I want to volunteer for your program. Is that possible?
Of course it is. You contact me. You can go on Medic Against Bomb, contact me, and I'll sign you up.
I have a question about the nature. Are you talking about just specific gardens, urban gardens, hikes in the woods? What exactly are you?
General concept. You know what? Probably any form of nature exposure is healing, and we are building gardens, okay? But let's say a soldier came back with a lot of pain from war. Going and hunting and fishing would be a great thing for that warrior to do, and there are nonprofits that take people hunting and fishing, and it does make them better. It's the healing power of nature itself. That to know by being in nature that everything is not trauma, that there is rebirth, there is regrowth, there is renewal. Nature tells you that even without any doctor or anyone else saying that to you. So any way you do it.
Should the veterans have prior art training experience to be involved with the program?
Not a bit.
Okay.
See, to listen to music, to see art, that's good, but what really heals is doing it yourself. So in our arts program, we have artists and residents who learn what does a veteran like to do, okay, and then they give them lessons in that particular thing. It has to be by choice.
You know what? This is such a pleasure. I mean, we're learning how we can all service Montgomery County better and how we can all work together. I thank all of our guests today. Thank you for joining us this week, and thank you for joining all of us for every week of Montgomery Week in Review. Again, I'm Tony Spearman Leach. Please join us next week at the same time. Again, thank you to our guests, and thank you, Montgomery County.
Thank you.